Team Biden is so blinded by race baiting that it is willing to sacrifice our national security in an effort to defame every Trump-loving America First patriot. The laser focus on the minimal threat of, quote, right-wing domestic extremism in this country gives groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Boko Haram, and even Black Lives Matter a real opportunity to flourish. With religious holidays nearly upon us, we know these Islamic extremist groups want nothing more than to kill Americans right here at home. But instead of focusing on that threat, Team Biden does this. This is the pandering rhetoric of division. This is what we get from our own government.
Facts and data indicate that, in fact, domestic violent extremism is the greatest threat that we face, terrorism-related threat we face on the homeland, then we communicate accordingly.
Well, he is flat out wrong, Alejandro Mayorkas. This is the National Terrorism Advisory Bulletin released this week. It does mention foreign terrorists as part of a, quote, diverse and challenging threat environment. But look, folks, who is first on the list, and I'll quote here. These threats include those posed by individuals and small groups engaged in violence, including domestic violent extremists. It then goes on to list the motivation for potential attacks. They are, quote, due to perceived government overreach in implementation of public health safety measures. Give me a break. Really? Name me one terror attack waged on American soil by people angry about mask and vaccine mandates. There are none, and there are not going to be any. Again, they look at Americans who love freedom as terrorists. The Homeland Security Secretary portrayed angry parents first as domestic terrorists. Now they label anyone who wants to remain unmasked and unvaxxed as a terrorist. Look at who they think are so dangerous.
No more masks! No more masks! No more masks! God love this land. God bless the USA. Go Brandon! Go Brandon! Go Brandon! Freedom! 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 Freedom!
Those are American patriots that I want to be around. They're not dangerous to America. They love this country. That, folks, that you just saw there, that's the threat the Biden administration thinks we need to worry about. Not a 9/11 style attack, not a bombing like we saw in Boston by the Tsarnaev brothers, but freedom lovers. That's who they think the threat is. It is despicable. Islamic terror, by the way, is a huge threat to this nation. Yet in this latest terror advisory, Biden's Department of Homeland Security refuses to even mention Islamic extremism. It mentions foreign terror groups, but not one mention of Islam or Islamic jihad. Again, political correctness is going to get us all killed. Listen to these men I'm going to play for you here, and I want you to listen very carefully. They're serious.
America!
They're just chanting death to America, but they seem friendly at the same time.
They're chanting death to America. When Muslims, in the name of Allah, vow to kill Americans, when they chant death to America, here's a little tip for you. Believe them. They are not threats to them. They are promises. And Team Biden now willfully ignores these radical jihadists, just as they ignore the real domestic terror threat we also face here at home, Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Just look at your screen. These are recent domestic terror attacks. BLM and Antifa burning down stores, looting, terrorizing diners, torching and destroying vehicles. We see this all too often. Yet there is no warning in the latest DHS bulletin of violent anti-police groups rising up, there is a far greater chance we see riots in the streets by them than we do any, quote, right-wing extremist group. Look at BLM this week. Its founders are vowing if New York City reinstates its New York Police Department anti-crime units, it will riot in the streets, threatening the mayor-elect with this.
If they think that they're going to go back to the old ways of policing, then we're going to take to the streets again. There will be riots, there will be fire, and there will be bloodshed.
Folks, he just said it today. Yet they don't mention BLM. Compare that to all the freedom-loving rallies, protests we saw. Singing the national anthem. They love America. There'll be bloodshed in the streets? Come on. So instead of focusing on real threats to America, Team Biden weaponizes national security, ignores the dangers in the likes of BLM, Antifa, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS to put fellow Americans, conservatives, who pose no threat at all, in a category that should be reserved for jihadists and street thugs out to truly destroy America.